All right, today we are finding the slope from 2 points. In our previous lesson, we learned how to find the slope from a graph, aka our rise over run. So we know that M is a symbol for slope, and we can find it by using 2 points on a graph like 1, 1, and 4, 3 by subtracting our second y value from our first y value and our second x value from our first x value. Basically, we're finding the change in y, aka my rise, over the change in x, aka my run. So, first of all, we know ordered pairs are written x, y. X comes first, y comes second. So if I'm finding it from 2 points, I need to know which is my first point and my second point. Well, this is my first point because it comes first, and this is my second point because it comes second. So let's label our point. So 1, 1, I have my x1 value because it's x and it's first, and then my first y value because it's y and it's the first one. Notice these y sub 2 and y sub 1, it's not an exponent. It's just telling me which number value it is. So for 3, I have my second x value and my second y value. So if I know that, all I need to do is plug it into my slope formula. Well, slope formula says y2 minus y1. Well, y2 is 3 and y1 is 1. Well, x2 is 4 and x1 is 1. So I just need to simplify. 3 minus 1 is 2, and 4 minus 1 is 3. So my slope is a positive 2/3. But I can do this from a table too. Notice it says x, y. These are just the points. So my points are 1, 1, and 4, 3. I just need to figure out what is the change in y over the change in x. So the change in y, from these two y values, what is happening between 1 and 3? It is increasing. Increase means positive by how many? Count from 1, 2, 3. It's increasing by 2. Well, what about my x values? From 1 to 4, what is happening? It is increasing. Increase means positive by how many? 2, 3, 4. It's increasing by 3. So my change in y is 2, and my change in x is 3. So my slope, positive 2/3. All right, what about our second example? We have the points -1 and 9, 2 and 3. So -1 is my first x value. 9 is my first y value. 2 is my second x value. And 3 is my second y value. Now I just need to substitute those points into my formula. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1. Well, y sub 2 is 3. And y sub 1 is positive 9. Well, x sub 2 is 2. And x sub 1 is a -1. Notice that that minus sign in the formula did not change. All I'm doing is substituting the points, y2 and y1, x2 and x1. Simplify. 3 minus 9 is -6. All over 2 minus a -1, which is a positive 3. I need to simplify. -6 divided by 3 is a -2. So my slope is a -2. But what if I wanted to use a table? X and Y. My points are -1 and 9 and 2 and 3. Well, my change in Y over my change in X. So my change in Y, what is happening from 9 to 3? It is decreasing. Decrease means minus by how many? I can count down. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. It's decreasing by 6. Well, what about my change in my x values from -1 to 2? Well, that's increasing. By how many? 0, 1, 2. It's increasing by 3. So my change in y is a -6, and my change in x is a positive 3. I need to simplify. 2 ways to find your slope. All right, let's do two more examples. All right, I have 5 and 9 and 3 and 9, where 5 is my first x value and 9 is my first y value. 3 is my second x value and 9 is my second y value. Substitute them in. Y2 is 9, y1 is 9. X2 is 3 and x1 is 5. Now I simplify. 9 minus 9 is 0 and 3 minus 5 is a negative 2. Well, 0 divided by negative 2 is 0, so that means I have no slope. Well, from a table, 5 and 9 are my first points, x and y, and 3 and 9 are my second points. Well, what is the change in y? It ain't changing. Well, what number represents it ain't changing? 0. Well, what about my change in x? From 5 to 3, what is happening? It is decreasing by 2. So my change in y, which is 0, all over my change in x, which is a negative 2. Well, 0 divided by negative 2 is 0. And our last example, points are negative 7 and 8 and negative 7 and 5. So negative 7 is my first x value, 8 is my first y value. Negative 7 over here is my second x value, and 5 is my second y value. Substitute them into the formula. My y2 is 5, and my y1 is 8. My x2 is a negative 7, and my x1 is a negative 7. Simplify. 5 minus 8 is negative 3, and negative 7 minus a negative 7 is 0. These are two different things. 0 divided by negative 2 and negative 3 divided by 0. You can't divide by 0. Therefore, this is called undefined. Well, what if I needed to put it in a table? I can put my first point, which is negative 7 and 8, and my second point, negative 7 and 5. Well, my change in y, from 8 to 5, what is happening? It is decreasing by how many? 3. Well, from negative 7 and negative 7, what's happening? Nothing. So it's increasing by 0 because nothing's happening. So the change in y, which is negative 3, all over the change in x, which is 0. And when I simplify that, you'll put negative 3 over 0 into your calculator, and it's going to give you an error message because you can't divide by 0. And so I get undefined. All right, any questions, feel free to ask me in class.